What's up, guys? It's your boy Slap Thigh, and today is the big day, guys. Jaren Ward has finally arrived in Destiny Rising. So today I want to make a guide going over the new character, the new season battle pass that just dropped for him, also going over his abilities and some artifact build recommendations. So starting off here, let's take a look at the actual banner itself with Jaren, of course, as the main focus. So we have Jaren Ward here, and then for our three 4-star characters, we have Kaber, Finala, and Umiko. Then down here are some of the cosmetics you can get through this banner. Then real quick, let's take a look at the illustration cards. So here's the first illustration card. You get a transmat effect airdrop. Kind of simple, but you know. Then the second illustration card here, we have the emote, Shake and Fly. Actually pretty cool, I like that. Then the third illustration card here, we have the Ghost Shell, Announcer. And for the fourth illustration card here, we have the Sparrow. Here's the trail as well. Pretty basic trail. Of course, if you get all the illustrations, you get this special animated emote as well. So moving on from the character, real quick, let's take a look at the new battle pass that introduces the last word to us. So for this battle pass, as previously mentioned, we have the last word as a new addition. Obviously, this weapon pairs well with Jaren Ward, considering he is the last word user. We'll talk a little bit more about the last word later when we're talking about Jaren Ward and his weapons. Yeah, taking a quick scroll here through the battle pass, let's take a look at the emotes. The first emote you can get here is Snowboard Tricks. And then moving down here, we have Tacky Sweater. Kind of a goofy emote, if I'm being completely honest. Kind of fits Ning, though. Feeling like Ning would wear something like that. And then, of course, at the end of the battle pass, we have the last word ornament random bundle. So here's the first ornament, here's the second, and here's the third. I personally like the third the most. I think that's pretty sick. All right, now the moment you guys have been waiting for, Jaren Ward himself. So real quick, let's look at his Light Link Companion ability. So it's Precision Instrument. Every 3 consecutive precision hits trigger Precision Hunt. Increases the damage of ability and weapon precision hit by 6.9% at tier 0. And obviously the more copies of him, you get more of a bonus. So at tier 6, you get 11% for 6 seconds. Now quickly, let's talk about his weapons that he uses. So he uses a hand cannon and a shotgun, so a piercing and impact. As previously mentioned, from the battle pass, you can get the last word, which pairs really well with Jaren. So real quick, let's talk about the last word as traits and perks and its catalysts. So its intrinsic trait here, Fanned Fire. This weapon gains the paid in full buff for 5 seconds after hitting a target with a hip-fired shot, gradually increasing damage dealt by up to 40% and reload speed by up to 40%. When aim shots land precision hits, it gains the Settled In turn buff for 5 seconds, gradually increasing precision damage dealt by up to 60% and accuracy by 40%. Reloading removes these buffs. Then right here we have the perk Raised Wager. When firing from the hip, body shots that hit base elite combatants with less than 75% health or bosses powerful combatants with less than 50% health deal damage equal to a precision hit, so that's pretty nice. And then looking at the catalysts here, the first one here, landing hipfire final blows or landing precision final blows while aiming down sights instantly grants the max number of buff stacks. And the second one here, the top half of this weapon's magazine deals 30% more damage. And then the third one here, paid in full and settled in turn stacks will be kept even after reloading. So a pretty nice looking weapon. I'm very excited to try it out myself. Now moving on from weapons, let's go over his actual abilities here. Let's read over his passive here, Stag Protection. Dealing precision damage with weapons grants 1 stack of Stag Totem. Up to 1 stack can be gained every 0.2 seconds via this method. Defeating combatants or dealing damage with Blazing Shot / High Noon Duel also grants 1 Stag Totem stack. Defeating elites or stronger combatants or hitting the same target with at least 50% of the pellets in a single shotgun trigger pull grants an additional 1 Stag Totem stack. Up to 48 Stag Totem stacks can be held at a time, and Jaren starts combat with 48 stacks. Once Stag Totem reaches 48 stacks, it will restore 1 charge of emergency evasion. If Jaren casts either of his signature abilities at this time, he will consume all Stag Totem stacks to enter the Stag Protection state for 12 seconds. Let's read over the Stag Protection state. It grants Jaren control immunity for 6 seconds and enhances his signature abilities. The light infused rounds of Blazing Shot deal plus 30% damage, and their damage will no longer decrease if they consecutively hit the same combatant. Emergency Evasion's Shock Grenade deals plus 30% damage, and its damage resistance effect is increased by an additional 20%. And then what Control Immunity does is it removes and grants immunity to debuffs such as Blind, Corruption, Suppression, Confinement, Silence, and Slowdown. Now moving on to his first signature ability here, Blazing Shot. Jaren marks combatants' weak spots and rapidly fires light-infused bullets at them with Vows, dealing solar damage. Light-infused bullets that could not deal damage will refund ability energy. So this is basically a fan the hammer attack. If you have any red bars in your sight, they pretty much just all fall at your feet. It's a really awesome attack. Then going over his second signature ability here, Emergency Evasion. Jaren jumps and throws a shock grenade, dealing solar damage to combatants, inflicting them with blind. This also reloads both weapons with 100% of their magazine capacity and grants Jaren acceleration and damage resistance. So this is a nice move for a few reasons. It's a mobility move, so it's useful for mobility artifacts, which I will talk about later when I'm talking about builds for him. But also it works like Gambler's Dodge, I believe it is, in Destiny 2, where it reloads your weapon, which is also really, really nice. So if you empty your whole mag, you can just pop this, blind the enemies, and then you can finish them off. Then let's talk about his super here, High Noon Duel. Jaren enters his super state, infusing both his equipped hand cannon and Vows with solar light and firing them alternatively. Jaren's shots automatically lock onto the weak spot of combatants with a 30-meter radius, dealing solar damage. So this move is also really cool. It's basically a powered-up version of his first signature ability. And who doesn't feel cool using double golden guns? I mean, that's sick. Now moving on to his relic traits here. Let's read over the first one here. Skill Rewarded. Dealing precision damage with weapons grants 1 stack of skill rewarded. Up to 1 stack can be accumulated every 0.2 seconds. Whenever skill rewarded reaches 3 stacks, it will be converted into 2 stacks of Stag Totem. And as a reminder, Stag Totem is used for your passive to get Stag Protection. You need 48 Stag Totems to get Stag Protection. Then reading over his Relic Trait 2 here, Light Requite, I believe is how that's pronounced. Dealing damage with Jaren's abilities or Welling Light restores his total health equal to 55% of the base damage dealt, without the ability for overflow healing. And then what Welling Light is firing weapons deals an additional instance of solar damage equal to 40% of the weapon's damage. Welling Light stacks 8 times, and each shot fired consumes 1 stack. Additionally, weapons gain the ability to lock on the combatant's weak spot with a smaller range while Welling Light is active. The lock-on is ineffective against other light bearers, so you cannot use it in PvP. And then let's read over his Relic Trait 3 here. Clash of Fates. If High Noon Duel deals damage to the same target consecutively within 5 seconds, damage dealt will increase. Each consecutive hit increases damage by 10% up to a 50% increase. So this is good if you're using it on like a big boss enemy. And then reading over his weapon mastery here, Welling Light. So I read over it a little bit earlier. But basically, while Stag Protection is active, Overflowing Light enhances weapons, granting Jaren's hand cannon and shotgun 4 stacks of Welling Light each. That is at level 1. And then level 2, Welling Light additional solar damage ratio is increased to 60%. At level 3, it's 90%. And at level 4, when Welling Light consecutively hits the same target within 6 seconds, it deals an additional 10% damage each hit, increasing up to 30%. And then at level 5, it is increased to 120%. Now, real quick, let's talk about artifacts. So for artifacts, I have Nimble Veil, Healing Veil, Courageous Planetismal, and Valiant Veil on him currently. With the new addition of Jaren, there's new artifacts that came out with him. These are the Perturbation, I believe is how that's pronounced, set. These artifacts are made around Jaren, so they are obviously good for him. Let's give him a quick read. So we have the first one here, Calming Perturbation. Dealing precision damage grants plus 38% damage resistance against sources within a 15-meter radius for 8 seconds at level 5. And we have the second one here, Healing Perturbation. Again, I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it. So level 5 here, dealing precision damage to targets within a 20-meter radius restores total health equal to 22% of the base damage dealt. And we have the third one here, Valiant Perturbation. Level 5, simultaneously having damage resistance and movement speed bonus applied by the wielder's own abilities grants plus 25% damage bonus. And then the fourth one here, Obstructing Perturbation. Level 5, attempting to inflict a combatant within a 20-meter radius with blind increases the wielder's damage by 25% for 8 seconds. So a pretty nice set. Although I probably wouldn't use any of those if I was being completely honest with you guys. You can and you probably do well with them. The set I would actually recommend is the one I'm using at the moment here. So on my Jaren, I'm using Nimble Veil, Healing Veil, Courageous Planetismal, and Valiant Veil as previously mentioned. Since his second signature counts as a movement ability, these will proc. And then Courageous Planetismal is always a safe one to play. Basically, casting abilities grants a plus 18% damage bonus for 10 seconds. So you can cast any ability and you'll get that damage bonus. Very consistent. So personally, I'd recommend a build like this, but definitely be sure to let me know in the comments if you guys have a better build suggestion. But personally, this is what I would recommend. If not, at least using the new set that was made. You could even mix and match the two. So moving on from build recommendations, let's go over his talent tree here. So at talent tree 1 here, you get Dead Set. Blazing shots, light infused bullets deal greater damage when fewer targets are marked, gaining up to 30% additional damage bonus. And at talent tree 2 here, against the odds, after throwing emergency evasion shot grenade, any damage Jaren deals for the next 3 seconds will restore his total health equal to 18.5% of the base damage dealt without the ability for overflow healing. At talent tree 3, Bitter Grudge, increases High Noon's duels damage by an additional 20%. At talent tree 4 here, Light's Eruption, Welling Light's additional damage ratio is further increased by 30%. At talent tree 5 here, Offense as Defense, the duration of blind inflicted by emergency evasion is increased by an additional 1 second. And then at talent tree 6 here, High Noon, when Jaren enters the stag protection state, Blazing Shot's max number of charges will temporarily increase by 1, and 1 charge will be instantly restored. Additionally, while he's in the stag protection state, using the enhanced Blazing Shot to inflict dual mark increases the target's damage taken from Jaren by 9% plus 1% times number of dual mark stacks. Stacks 6 times and lasts 8 seconds. That was honestly kind of a mouthful, but this seems pretty good. A relatively decent talent tree. Reading over these, I don't see any of them as like necessary. So if you're thinking about pulling more copies of Jaren, I'd say if you enjoy the character, definitely pull more of him. But I probably wouldn't stress too much about getting more copies of him. He is a pretty fun character, so I'll probably be pulling for more of him personally. But aside from talent tree 6 here, none of these really strike me as, overly useful, like overly required. Obviously the goal for pulling any character is to getting them to talent tree 6, but these are more just like quality of life. I don't see any of these as necessarily game-changing personally. But yeah, now moving over to the practice range, let's try out his abilities in action. So firstly, let's try the new last word weapon. Just as cool as it is in D2. Feel like a real gunslinger using this thing. Feel like this thing has a really quick reload too. Very, very cool. Alright, now let's try out his signature ability. So let's try out the first one here. So as you guys can see, for the first signature, you can hold it down and you can actually mark all the units before you shoot. So keep in mind, you can actually scan the whole area and hold down the button before you have to shoot. And then once you have them all marked, you can let go. Really, really cool. Another thing when you're using your first signature ability, if you use it in the air, you actually like hover in the air for a little bit and you can like glide down. So just another cool little thing. And as you guys can see here, we have a lock-on feature that comes from Welling Light, one of his Relic Trait abilities. So at the bottom left there, you'll see how many charges you have left. So if I shoot my hand cannon right here, it automatically headshots that dreg, and it takes 1 charge from Welling Light. So if I do another one there, another one, now I'm down to 1 charge, and now I'm out of charges. In fact, something I just noticed, if you look at the right of your reticle, you can actually see how many charges of Welling Light you have left. So that's actually a nifty thing. So you don't have to look in the bottom left for that. And again, you get more charges by just using your abilities with Jaren. All right, now let's try out his second signature ability here, the dash. So you can see at the bottom left, we're low on ammo here. So if I use the dodge, automatically reloads my weapon, throws out a flashbang. Also does a decent amount of damage too. You can also hold this move to see how far you're going to throw it. So if you want to aim it first before you use it, you can do that. So if I want to hit that dreg right on the head, bam. Now for his super, the High Noon Duel. So as you guys can see, you automatically lock on. You have some more powerful shots. It's basically like the first move, but with stronger shots. Super cool. Let's try that against some yellow bars. Pretty strong. But yeah, there you guys have it. There is a guide for Jaren Ward going over his weapons, his abilities, and some artifact build ideas. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it helped you out. If you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you like and subscribe. It really shows me that you guys are enjoying the content and encourages me to make more content like this in the future. If I missed anything in the video, make sure you guys let me know in the comments below. I'll make sure to pin your comment. If you guys are looking for more live content from me, I do stream over at my Twitch at twitch.tv/slapthigh. Would really love to see you over there. If you're looking to join a pack or if you're just looking to join a community Discord, we do have a community Discord for our pack. That'll be in the description below if you're interested in joining. But yeah, thanks again so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day.